Hi, I'm Annie Fox for Family Confidential, Secrets of Successful Parenting. My guest today is Lori Lite, founder of Stress Free Kids. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, how you and your kids can stress less this school year. Hi, Lori. Welcome to Family Confidential.
Hi, Annie.
It's nice to see you. I know you and I have connected on Twitter over the years, and I think we've spoken on the phone at least twice. But it's really nice to see your smiling face. So thanks for being here. What we want to talk about today is back to school stress, specifically how to avoid it and what parents can do so that they're not actually contributing to their kids' stress
Right.
at home or on the way to and from school, but helping to reduce it. So I'm wondering if you got some tips for us starting off for parents.
Yes. One of the first things that parents can do is be aware that stress does exist. Not too many years ago, we didn't think that children were affected by stress. So that is something that's new in our society and our culture, and just bringing awareness to the subject puts parents in a position of much more power.
That's
Um,
interesting. So it's not like, oh, you're a kid, you've got nothing to worry about. You know, these are the happiest days of your life. And there's the kid in the back seat going, I don't
right.
feel so happy. Is there something wrong with me? But you're saying there's
Children are stressed.
children are stressed, children get stressed, and parents should have some understanding and awareness of that. That's a good first tip. Good. What else do you have to say?
And then for parents, the first thing they should do is check their own stress and anxiety levels.
Oh.
Children are very aware of when their parents are stressed out. In fact, there are surveys that say that children not only are aware of it, but it makes them feel sad. So children are sad when they know that their parents are stressed. So when it comes to school, a lot of parents have their own stress and anxiety wrapped around going back to school or being in school. It could be some of their old baggage, some of their old experiences. Can be their own fears. Something I've seen a lot is a lot of negative talk and worry about what teacher is my child going to get this year.
Oh, yeah.
And parents talking to each other about it in front of the children. And, here's a child that has no anticipation about the teacher they will get in a negative light. And then they're hearing all this from the parents, and it causes them unnecessary worry. So parents
Okay.
should be conscious of that.
Be conscious of the fact that kids do get stressed. And tip number two, be really aware of the kinds of things you talk about within earshot of your child, because, you and your friends may somehow get some enjoyment or bonding from talking about, oh, last year's teacher was terrible. I hope they don't get that one again. The kids are listening, and that transmits stress to them. Good
And I did
point.
learn this at the bus stop because, oddly enough, there's so much chatting going on at the bus stop. And what I started to see is that a teacher that was perhaps my neighbor's worst experience was my child's favorite teacher. So
Ah.
you really cannot predict, and you need to leave space for children to create their own relationships with teachers and create the best experience that they can. And if you leave that negativity and worry out of the picture, the children have more space to do that and have a beautiful experience.
I was just thinking also that when you're on the phone with a friend and talking about this kind of stuff, you're probably even less aware that your child is present and hearing it in the car, wherever you might be chatting on the phone, and yet it's the same rule applies, right?
Yes, and same thing with assignments. If a child brings home a homework assignment, the parents should restrain from making negative comments and be more supportive. Maybe if it's overwhelming, break it down for the child. Create brain breaks so that they can reward themselves and get a little break in between making small accomplishments. Be a positive participant in the
Yes.
child's studies and homework instead of adding stress and negativity to the experience.
So important because, parents, as kids get older, parents bemoan the fact that they seem to have less influence on their children. And I always say you always are a primary influencer of your children. Make sure that the influence you have on them is a positive one. Let's talk a little bit about the stress kids have around the social aspects of school. I know the parents can often get really plugged into that stuff too.
Right. And if you do have a child that you know struggles socially, you can do things to help your child. You can send them for social skills classes. That can be very helpful. You can be role play with your child. You can see where their weaknesses are and where their strengths are and take some steps to work on that. Some children need to be taught to laugh at things. Some children take everything so seriously, and it makes them an easy target for bullies, which of course increases stress again. So even role playing, um, I had experiences where I would role play with my child. Oh, those new shoes are awful. Where'd you get that disgusting colored shoe?
Oh, so
And
you were taking the role of a kid who was not so nice, and
yes,
having your kid practice how
yes,
to respond.
yes, and have
That's
them
great.
practice with a response to that, or just laughing about it.
What did your child do in that situation where you're saying, "Oh, those shoes, those are not so nice." What did your kid do?
That was actually a real situation. So we practiced some simple comebacks, just laughing and saying, "I agree," or my mom picked him out.
Oh, my mom.
I mean, anything that diffuses instead of crumbling, feeling sad for yourself, feeling picked on, or even crying, just coming back, letting things roll off, being more resilient, teaching some more resilience is
You know,
so important.
I love this idea of role playing, and I don't know that a lot of parents actually do it, but it's, to demystify the term role playing, it's really a practice session that allows you to pretend and kind of mock up, set up a situation where your child is likely to encounter at in the classroom, on the playground, at the bus stop, etc. And then you give them lots of opportunities to really play around with it and come up with different kinds of responses. I'm also thinking about the idea of role playing. If a child has some anxiety, for example, about presenting in front of the class, maybe there's a project coming up and they have to read something out loud, to give them an opportunity to talk about those feelings of in the pit of their stomach, which makes them maybe their throat tighten up and feel kind of tongue tied, and to give them some tools, for example, in the moment for them to relax in class. Can you give our listeners and viewers some ideas as parents how they can maybe coach their child in those kinds of situations?
Absolutely. And that's a perfect situation for children to use tools that, as a parent, you can teach them during the day and integrate into their daily living, like breathing, deep breathing. So many professional speakers and athletes and actors, they all do deep breathing before they go on and perform, which public speaking, even in front of the classroom, is somewhat of a performance.
And what
So
do you mean
learning.
exactly by deep breathing? How does that work?
Well, deep breathing is where you first of all bring your focus into the breathing. So breathing awareness, breathing focus, but it's taking a deep breath in and trying to use your diaphragm so that it's a deeper breath instead of a chest breathing, which is a shallow breath. So you can
Okay.
put your hand on your chest and do your normal breathing, and you'll
Okay,
feel your
do it
chest.
with me. I'll do it now. Go ahead. Put my hand on my chest.
So breathe in,
Yeah.
and you will likely feel your chest lifting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we normally breathe. But a relaxation breath is when you put your hand on your belly and you breathe in using your diaphragm so that you feel your belly gently lift with the breath. So let's give that a try.
Okay.
Breathe in and ah. And I like to make an ah sound. Kids love making an ah sound. That is a great way to release stress. But of course, you can also do it without the ah sound. So let's try it once silently. Breathe in.
It feels so nice.
I mean, we just took two breaths, and I can feel myself slowing down just in this conversation. So,
Yeah.
taking deep breaths is a beautiful thing that you can expose your children to at home, and they can use it when they are out of the home as well. And again, it's like a muscle. So, it's something you want to practice before the storm. Get your child used to developing that muscle and that tool of deep breathing so that they can use it when you're not around and they can apply it before they are in stressful situations.
This is a perfect example of how you can model what you teach, because I can sure imagine there are plenty of moments during the day when parents, especially during this busy back to school time, but really any time, when parents are feeling stressed, and if they remember to do this focused centering breathing, then it's for them. And their kids are going to notice when the anxiety level in the room goes down. Mom's not yelling quite so much, and she kind of
Right.
calms down. And they might get really curious about it. It's like, wow, what are you doing, Mom? And that's a perfect teachable moment.
And right, actually, for a mother, you can announce that you're going to focus on your breathing. You can say, "Mommy is feeling really stressed out right now, and I'm going to sit down and just do my breathing." And then the children observe. You can ask them to join you, sit next to you. Young children climb up on your lap. You can do this with babies on your chest. It's a great way to just make it a normal part of how you manage stress, a healthy way to manage stress.
Yes.
And children will follow along. You'd be surprised at how quickly a child will copy what they're seeing. They see and feel that it feels good. They internalize that and they want to do it again. Children like to do things that feel good.
This is great. And I can also imagine the ripple effect where they're teaching their friends. Kids are teaching their friends on the playground to calm
Absolutely.
down and take a deep breath. It's wonderful.
It
We
is.
all,
And then they turn around and they remind their parents, I think you need to take some deep breaths, or do your angry octopus breathing. And I've
oh,
heard
what
comments like
is
that
what is
over
that
and over.
one? That
Well,
sounds
that's
great.
one of my stories is called Angry Octopus, and it incorporates breathing into the story and progressive muscle relaxation. And children learn to use these techniques. And I hear over and over again that they turn around to their parents when they're getting angry and tell them, "I think you need to do your angry octopus breathing."
Well, if that doesn't instantly diffuse the stress, I would just laugh if my kid said that and realize, oh yeah, I am maybe over the top here. That's great. We only have a minute left, Lori, but before we go, I'd love for you to tell our listeners and viewers where they can find out more about your work.
Stressfreekids.com is the best place to find out about my work. I do have a line of books and CDs that are geared directly towards parents, children, and also teenagers. So that's the best place. I try to do lots of tips and blog articles. And of course, I love Twitter at Stress Free Kids on Twitter. And I love putting realistic, practical tips that parents can apply right away. I'm a no-nonsense kind of girl. I like to see people put things into action right away and start reaping the benefits of relaxation.
I'm with you there, and we all need the benefits of these. It's not one of these things, well, okay, I've learned to do, this specialized skill, and maybe once a year I'd pull it out. This is one of these things you're going to use all the time, and for the betterment of you and your family. Great.
Yes.
Thanks so much for your time today, Lori. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thank you, Annie. It was lovely meeting you.
This is Annie Fox for Family Confidential. To learn more about my work with tweens, teens, and parents, visit anniefox.com. And check out my brand new book for girls ages 8 to 12, the Girls Q&A book on friendship, 50 Ways to Fix a Friendship Without the Drama. And tune in next week when my guest will be Dr. Amy Alamar. Dr. Alamar is a researcher, teacher, school reform expert, and the author of the new book, Parenting for the Genius. Until next time, happy parenting.